Hey ho! Let's go. Limits placing on their pitchers, killing your fantasy team, and/or injuries that they don't report until you can't fix your lineup during the playoffs, like me. If so, you have come to the right place to bitch and moan because all that has happened. I am disgusted. I am upset, but what else you going to do? In addition to all that good stuff, who's hot, who's not, go get them, cut them segments. But before we begin, we ask you the question, where else would you rather be than right here, right now? As usual, you are looking live at the Split Studios. This is Fantasy Baseball Now, episode 8. For our show, part of the Ball9.com podcast network, combined 70 years of fantasy baseball experience. Mike and I are here to talk about MLB with a fantasy baseball spin. Let's talk about last week real quick before we get to the show. We had a live show scheduled last week, and then El Jefe, the creator of Ball 9, Chris Vitale, we were going to do a live fantasy football draft with another podcast group and one more, and it was deemed live might not be appropriate, and I think at the end of the day it was decided to not even post the show.
Yeah. I mean, it would have been, yeah. That was a good call. And it would have been great. It would have been great to do it live because a glimpse inside the shenanigans of a major league locker room, since it's the 4 lefties in that league, including one that vacated the draft out of frustration almost immediately.
He did.
Mr. Pulsifer.
Mr. Pulsifer.
But there's talk about a safe place. They say the locker room's a safe place. These idiots still believe that it's a safe place. I mean, it was a great call to not go live.
Yes, and yeah, Bill Pulsifer did walk out of the draft after I think 3 or 4 rounds, but he ended up with a pretty good team.
Well, he ended up walking out of the draft after 3 or 4 rounds after he auto picked for 3 or 4 rounds because he couldn't figure out how to draft. So he just said, "F it, I'm leaving," and he literally did.
He left. But he
left.
didn't leave the room, right? We just stared at
He
his
did not. He could hear everything that was being hurled his way. Most specifically by Wayne Franklin and Will Oman, who couldn't get enough. And as you would expect of the 4th lefty, you would expect Glendon Rush to be the calm voice of those 4.
Yes.
And he did his best to stay in his lane and not get caught into it. But how Chris does a podcast with those 4 dopes, I have no idea.
Yeah, right.
That is like herding cats, man. Those guys are insane.
On top of all those topics, catch our closing 5. Mike will take the honors this week, and I am ready to announce my new favorite team in waiting once the Oakland Athletics Baseball Organization ceases to exist in 15 days. Though I'll never rule it out. If they end up back in Oakland, I'll go back, but we're ready to move on.
Take a stand, for Christ's sakes. You're in or you're out. You can't waffle. They've already crushed your baseball spirit.
They have.
And I'm gonna do this is a one-time allowance of when you're after 12 you can switch teams, and I am personally allowing you to do this. Even if they go back, where are they gonna play next year? It's like Alameda High School.
Did you hear those dipshits have said that if they're going to go to Sacramento because they're getting a free handout?
Yeah, because Malut's got a lot of money.
He's going to get the team. But then they come out and said, well, but we may not play in Sacramento if we make the playoffs because it's only a 14,000 seat stadium. Where are you going to play?
Exactly. Salt Lake, because that's 21,000.
Yeah. All right. Innings limits. They're killers this time of year for the fantasy game. They're killers.
Yeah, they are. They're killers because you're planning your lineup around It doesn't make any difference whether it's head-to-head or roto. It doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't. You're counting on
You're
production.
typically chasing something, right? You're chasing something for position. Head-to-head, it's far more important. Like head-to-head, it's far more important. But when they're short starting guys, and like I looked at 2, 4, 6. I looked at 8 pitchers, 7 of which are kind of in the playoffs, or but and what the impact would be of of course Crochet. We talked about that at the All-Star break. I mean, his career high was 54 innings. He's at 134 as last night. Skeens threw 122 and 2/3 in college last year. He's at 120. I was shocked that he went 6 the other night. I thought they would have pulled him at 5 and kind of reined him back.
Yep.
But Tariq Skubal's career high is 149 to 30. He's at 171, and they're in it. So, like, what do you like? So you're counting on him. He's a great example. You're counting on those amazing stats, right? The likely Cy Young Award winner in the American League. Strikeouts, low whip, always a low ERA, usually gets a win.
Yeah.
And what if he's not going 7 or 8 anymore? What if he's going 5? Like our favorite player this year, obviously on this show, has been Seth Lugo.
Yes.
And he was until he turned into Larry Gurr last night.
Paul Splittorf.
Yeah, that's Reagan's tonight. Both of those guys are 40 innings over their career highs. They can't not pitch them. The Royals have no choice. They have to pitch them. Like they're in they're going to make the playoffs, and we were both right about that, so we can pat ourselves on the back because there's so much we're always wrong about.
Yeah, I'm not right very often, ever.
But they're also chasing a division. So they can't. They're not going to not pitch those guys. But it still goes into your thought. Like if they're a 2-start pitcher in a week, and before you were getting 14, 15 innings of high quality starts, and then it becomes 10, and they're winning games, and wins are a category in your league, and in head-to-head wins count for points.
Yep.
And then they go to a bullpen that's a little suspect, and all of a sudden everything evaporates, right? Like Spencer Schwellenbach, he's at 100 innings, and he's thrown 65 in his career, and I wouldn't be shocked. I was thinking about this with Fried tonight. If the Braves drop out of this mess, which, I mean, Lopez got hurt last night. I mean, they can't catch a break.
Yeah.
And then the Mets, of course, break up a no-hitter in the 9th, and then Chad Green turned into Chad Green, and they lit him up today.
Well, do they shut Braves?
What if they shut Schwellenbach down?
Like, look at the Braves, though. Even Chris Sale. I have Chris Sale on my team. He's 6 innings. They're not even letting him go any further than that.
Well, because if they don't, I guess for them, well, their bullpen's pretty good, right? Their bullpen's pretty good, but like for them at this point, what's the point, right? Like I was thinking about that with Max Fried today. They just shut Max Fried down, let him get healthy,
yeah,
and come back next year, and we go get him. Like Hunter Green's thrown the most innings in his career before he got hurt. And he's supposed to come back. And they've already said, like, if you're counting on Hunter Green and head-to-head to give you Hunter Green starts like he has, they're going to throw him 2 innings.
Yeah.
Just that's what they've already said. So, like, you're planning this, and then now where do you go, right? And you're trying to win a league. You're trying to, I mean, head-to-head, it's urgent, right? Like, you're trying to win a league, and like, where do you go? Like, where do you go to get guys that are going to help you and not kill you?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. You load up on relief pitchers. I mean, if you have holds, you might think about that. If holds are a category in head-to-head, you might consider it. You can win that. And saves, I mean, you might, but you're going to get killed in strikeouts, and you're going to get killed in and I mean, you might win ERA, you might not. Like,
well, it highlights the value. I've always been a guy, I try and draft pitchers on good teams because you want wins. That's a category, right? But you need teams that are in it for that reason. Like Detroit's gonna pitch cool. They're trying to make the playoffs.
Yeah.
You go back to the year, the worst thing I ever saw with protecting a guy, and I understood why because he got hurt all the time with Strasburg. When the Nationals were in playoff spot and they sat him down and set like Labor Day weekend one year and just destroyed their postseason chances. And it's like, what are you doing? Are you trying to win or not?
Do you think they would? Do you think, given the? I was thinking about him this when we were talking about this being the topic that we were going to discuss. His name came up to me because if they had a do-over, he was hurt so much in his career that it wouldn't have, like, at that point they would have been better off just letting it go.
Yeah.
Like if they had a crystal ball and said, like, this dude's going to be hurt all the time. It's a shame because he was uber talented, man. He was fun. But he's Tyler Glasnow.
Yeah, pretty much. This is a hot topic of the week, just head to head, and what hurts is I'm going to get dismissed from the playoffs by the big man in Massachusetts, which is painful because I talk to him 5 days a week. I had Osvaldo Bido in there for the A's, 2-start pitcher this week. Looked pretty good. He's been pitching great. The big man calls me yesterday and says, "Hey, your guy's on the IL. He's out for the year." I'm like, "Well, I didn't know he was hurt." And JP Sears gets put in. He's on my bench. Had I known he was going to be a 2-star pitcher, I would have played him. I'm getting absolutely pummeled in that playoff game now.
Two-star pitchers in head-to-head.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a roll of the dice. They could kill you, but if they're good pitchers, you need to activate them.
You got to have them. And I didn't know. And by the time I found out, it was too late. I couldn't make the roster switch. So I can't even go look at that game. I'm getting beaten so badly.
So this is a flip of the script, right? Because now we're talking about pitchers and innings limits. And it used to be 30 guys would get called up in September, and then hitters would lose at bats. Especially hitters, productive hitters on bad teams. We want to give this guy a look. We want to give this guy a look. We want to give this guy a look. We know we're not going anywhere. You had a nice season. We'll play you once out of every 3 days because we want to see what the kids got. Like the rosters aren't the CBA didn't allow for that this time, so there's not 25 guys on the bench like there used to be.
Yep.
But that's what it was. I mean, that's what it was. That's what it was before. Nice. That's nice it's nice that the graphics department waited.
You see what a week off does.
11 minutes to slide the graphic in.
The week off is just painful. Hey, that's a hardworking group in production. But, a week off and you screw everything up. And I'm still pissed off about the Beto injury. So, sorry. Son of a bitch. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. After I backed into the playoffs. No, actually, I won my game to get in. So, I almost backed into the playoffs over Nakayeti and you by 1 game, but well.
Yeah.
But the other part of that is the overall global view of fantasy. It is a lot harder to chase than it is to have that lead.
Sure it is.
Because you need everything to break right for you, and you start getting guys not playing and all that stuff. And it's
you start overthinking. You start overthinking. You way start overthinking. Like you're deep into matchups, and what got you there in the first place is probably what's going to either help you win or help you lose, and you just start overthinking, especially on the pitching side. And if you have expanded rosters where you've got corner infielders and utility players, as 2 utility players instead of DH. Like you look at your bench and you're like, damn, like I didn't realize that guy was going to hit 310 with 3 homers and 8 RBIs because they were playing, they had horrible pitching matchups. They had the worst rated pitching, batting versus pitching matchup of the week. And he happened to have a great week. And the guy that the guy that I put in was, playing the White Sox for 7 games and he went 1 for 31. You just can't.
It's hard. I did it in our other league, and my team's rolling again now. I for a couple weeks, put it in context, I was down 20 points to the first place guy. I'm in good spot in second place. I took a risk. I went six starters, 1 closer, 1 week, 7 starters, no closers. What happened? I gained some points, but what I gained in strikeouts, I lost in saves. And I say, just play your best players. Play your best players.
Yeah.
Instead of doing that, my team's rolling again. You go to the head-to-head league. I actually benched Eugenio Suarez this week because he only had 5 games. And Connor Norby had 7. Suarez got 17 points today with a couple of homers and a crap load of RBIs. And just sometimes you just play your best guys. I overthought it. In the league, I had to gain points. I can justify it.
I can't believe we have not talked about him.
Yeah.
I can't believe, I mean, he got off to a horrible start. Horrible. Like, is Eugenio Suarez done? And he's like 27 and 92. And he's hitting what, 250? That's what he does.
250 is good for him.
Yeah. If he had somewhere between 225 and 250, that's what he hits.
Yep.
But 27 and 92 is what he's done forever. That's what he does.
Well, he had topped out at like 43. Did he ever go above 43 in Seattle?
Yeah. He was in the 130s and RBIs, I think, at one point with Cincinnati. I mean, he's a productive third baseman at a position that's not great.
Yeah.
I mean,
for sure.
It's not a great position. It's hard. I mean, Austin Riley's been awful this year. Bregman's been awful this year. I mean, like the cream of it, like the plus guys have not been that. So it's been a little bit of a crapshoot at third base. I mean, Royce Lewis has tapered off for sure. I'm still keeping him though.
On my bench, 4 for 4 with a double, 2 homers, 2 RBIs, 4 runs scored today. Thanks.
That doesn't help you win. That's the kind of stuff. That's the kind of stuff that got Bob Melvin fired. Just saying.
God, this is a disaster. Beto out, 0 points. Merrill Kelly hurt today, left his game. Ben Lively 2 innings last night, injured. Probably not going to make his second start. Wow.
Probably not. Yeah, probably not going to make his start.
Just an awful postseason performance. Just terrible.
It is nice though that I get to watch the postseason from afar.
Yeah.
I mean, you are getting obliterated.
I'm getting killed. All right.
And the best part about that league is the team that's got a bye is the lowest points of the week so far.
That's tough.
I mean, the team that was front row was 22-2.
Yeah.
And they have the lowest points of the week so far. Next week they'll have 300.
Just crazy. All right, you ready for who's hot, who's not?
I am, as a matter of fact.
Very good. See, that graphics department's right on it. Right on it.
That's awesome. That's fantastic. So how about we start with the guy that we said to cut?
He deserved it at the time.
And then they did. And all he's done in the last 28 days is at 329 with 2 homers and 11 RBIs. And that's Ty France. And as first base has kind of tapered off and guys have struggled and a sneaker put him in there quick, he's still only 27% owned. And he could be a boost in the next 2 weeks for you because he's playing every day.
Yep.
And he's hitting. I mean, and he's doing what he does, right? He hits for average, drives in runs, doesn't have her power. And then who's not? So Isaac Paredes did he make the All-Star team? No, he did not. But they talked about him.
I think he did.
Well,
I think he did.
I mean, Unstoppable would have wished he would have seen this before he picked him up yesterday. He's still 92% owned. And I don't get it because the second half he's been awful. And since he got traded to the Cubs, he's been worse. And he's still 70% active. And he's 171 with a homer and 9 RBIs in the last 28 days. And the Cubs are playing good ball despite him.
He did make the All-Star team this year, by the way.
I don't get it. He's done nothing since he's gotten to Chicago. He's been that was a massive disappointment. I mean, thankfully for them, Swanson has really picked it up, and Pete Crow Armstrong has really picked it up, and Suzuki came back and picked it up, and they're still scratching to try to get to the playoffs. But
yeah, they're playing good.
They're playing
5 games over 500. Speaking of the aforementioned Pete Crow Armstrong, is this dude he's just a gamer. I know it
Yeah,
doesn't help in fantasy. He makes that great catch last night to clinch that game against the Dodgers. 10th in CBS in the last 21 days, rostered only 65% of the leagues, which blows my mind. Last 21 hitting 373, 17 runs, 3 homers, 18 RBIs, throwing a couple steals for him. And he's just lighting it up for the Cubbies. He's going to be a high draft pick next year, I think.
yeah. Boy, I saw the trade. He was in a Javi Baez trade with the Tigers.
Was he?
He was. He was indeed. And he struggled his first time when he came up early in the year. He struggled. And then he struggled a little bit when he came back. But then all those outfielders got healthy. And he was playing really well at the time. And they can't get him out of the lineup now. Plus, he catches everything.
Yeah. And
He's one of the 5 fastest players in Major League Baseball. And it's his inside the park home run, man. He was screaming around the bases.
Now, Jurickson Profar's had a nice year for the Padres. He's been garbage the last 3 weeks, hitting 203, 6 RBIs, limping to the finish. Hopefully for the, as Kenny Mayne would call him, for the fathers, that he can pick it back up in the postseason, because it looks like they're going to get some of that. But, yeah, he hasn't been very good lately, so he's a good guy to have on your bench.
No, he was definitely on my list.
Yeah.
Fortunately for him, Tatis came back and is going crazy. I was stunned beyond stunned that Manny Machado became the all-time career home run leader for the Padres last night. Shocked.
Did he really?
Yeah, shocked.
How long has he been there?
Long enough, apparently. Shocked.
I wouldn't have guessed that.
No, I would have thought it would have been. I would have thought Nate Colbert would have been the guy. I actually would have thought that Winfield and McReynolds would have been.
Yeah.
But Winfield wasn't there that long.
No?
No.
I would have guessed Winfield.
But he went to the Yankees. I mean, he was there long enough to make an impact, but he was on the Yankees maybe 6 years.
I didn't realize that. I never would have guessed Machado.
No, how would you?
That's crazy. All right, go get him.
Go get him, cut him. So the go get him for this week is for Dynasty League owners. And if you're in Deep Dynasty, this guy's already rostered. And if you're in a 5 save player league and you've got roster room right now, I'd go get Detroit's Jackson Joe. He's 32% rostered on CBS right now. He's worth keeping your eye on because he could slot right next to Skubal and be just as good as him. He's really good. He's really good. And then to cut, I had to pick some Twins pitcher because they've decided that they're going to tank before they play the Yankees in the playoffs. And
why not?
I mean, Simeon Wood Richardson, he's still 46% rostered. He doesn't really do anything, right? His last 3 starts, his whip's around 2. His ERA is only about 3.7, but he's less than a K an inning. Doesn't really do anything. He doesn't give. I mean, he's not going to go more than 5. He's not going to help you, certainly in head-to-head. He's not going to help you at all.
Yep.
He doesn't pitch long enough to win. Their bullpen sucks anyway. I mean, they're doing everything in their power. They're doing everything in their power to let Detroit make the playoffs. Yeah, we're okay.
I've kind of seen the Twins in the playoffs. I've seen that movie. Was my favorite.
I like that movie, if I'm being honest.
Oh, you play them, you sweep them every year. They roll over. They just roll over at the sight of the Yankees. I don't.
Yeah, they're like Lamar Jackson when he sees Patrick Mahomes. Like we're not going to win.
Yeah.
So it could have been any number of Twins pitchers, but he was the lowest hanging fruit. So I'm going with just get him off your roster. You're not going to keep him, even in a dynasty league. You're not saving him. He's going to be a 4 or 5 starter his entire career. It's fine. I mean, it's better than I ever was. So I can't demean that. But at the end of the day, he's not going to help you from a fantasy perspective at all.
Yeah. I'll tell you who can help you from a fantasy perspective. Just don't play him over Eugenio Suarez because he's got 7 games to Suarez's 5. when your team is in a playoff battle and getting bludgeoned. Connor Norby came over that deal with the O's at the deadline. 21st ranked in CBS, 304 average, 6 homers, 12 RBI, 17 runs scored. He's doing great. I think I read he was leading off tonight too for the Marlins. He's only rostered in 66% of the leagues. I'm a little surprised by that, but
it's huge up in the last 10 days though.
Yeah. And cut him. And Mike, this is for you. Just devoid your roster of Clay Holmes. Just move on. You'll save hundreds of dollars in antacid tablets by having this guy not on your roster.
Thousands of dollars.
Thousands. Yeah.
Thousands of dollars in antacid tablets.
He's bad. BAD bad.
He's only blown 11 saves.
That's all.
Aroldis Chapman, we wish we had you. I mean, honest to God. Certainly, AJ Puck wouldn't have helped. Tanner Scott wouldn't have helped. You know, they wouldn't have helped at all. No, they wouldn't have helped at all. I mean, even Sir Anthony Dominguez. No, he wouldn't have helped. Like none of those guys would have helped the bullpen. None of them. But I don't know. Boone's a genius. Let's just keep trotting him out there.
Sure.
His next great outing's right around the corner. Fuck Clay Holmes, and he can go back to Pittsburgh. In fact, let's trade him for David Bednar, who can't even get guys out in the old situation.
Can Bednar.
I mean, Jesus.
He blew up 2 fantasy teams for me this year, Bednar.
Don Gas Can Carmen Week revisited. Yeah.
That's rough.
Norby's stats. We've been talking about the Marlins and their young hitters since they gutted their team. Norby's stats since he got to Baltimore are fantastic. Yeah. I mean, he's really played well. He's played extraordinarily well. He's hitting over 300 since they traded for him.
Yep.
And that's how deep the hitting prospect pool is for the Orioles, that a guy that's that good isn't even good enough to be in that lineup. Even though they're choking, they're gagging too.
All right. You ready for the closing 5?
Oh, I'm ready. I'm definitely ready.
Take it away. Start in Chicago.
So Chris Getz, the general manager of the White Sox, when interviewed over the last 2 or 3 days, said, and I'm going to paraphrase this, if you would have told me going into the year we would have lost, somewhere between 100 and 110 games, it would have been like, yeah, it's probably about right with this roster. But we've got to deal with the hand that we've been dealt. Chris, aren't you the general manager? Aren't you? Last I checked, the general manager has input into the roster. And forget whatever the payroll is, you're still bringing in players and then trading guys that could have helped you. I mean, they got 17 games left, and if they win any of them, I'll be shocked. Dude, don't talk. Don't talk.
Yep.
You've already embarrassed the game this year. You're already going to set a record that goes back to the Cleveland Spiders of all teams for the most losses in a season. Don't defend it by saying we got to deal with the hand we've been dealt. You dealt the friggin' thing, you idiot. You can explain that to the 19 fans that showed up. 17 fans and whatever it is.
Yep.
Field it's called now. 17 fans the other day was the announced attendance, and they announced it.
Wow. That's bad.
That's awful. That is 17 fans. Good seats still available.
A lot of them, but 52,000 of them.
I saw Sarah Spain on X. They said, why am I going to the White Sox game? And she said they bought tickets in the 400 level for her friend bought tickets in the 400 level for $20. And they got there and the 400s were closed off and they sat 4 rows behind home plate. They just said, just sit where the hell you want.
Yeah, right.
Like going back to the Olympic Stadium. Just go sit wherever you want.
That's funny.
That's
All right.
awesome.
Next up.
All right. I hate to say this because I'm a huge Justin Verlander fan. And now he's on the IL again. Dude, start the Hall of Fame clock. I know you don't want to go out like this. I get it. I know you'd rather go out, looking like your former self, but just start the clock on the Hall of Fame. Walk away. Enjoy your beautiful wife. Hang out for a couple years, figure it out, stay involved in the game. You're a voice of reason for pitching, get a pitching coach job, whatever that might look like, but just don't go on the mound anymore, man. You're just
Father Time is undefeated.
Father Time is kicking his ass right
now. Yep. Same with Scherzer.
Well, we'll see about him, but like I get it. You want to compete, and he's an ultimate competitor, and he's in our lifetime, he's one of the best pitchers that we've gotten the opportunity to see his entire career. He's been great. But right now he's not. And just right off into the sunset. You don't want an injury to end your career. But honestly, injury's better ending your career than your last 4 starts, which have been not good. Not good at all. So the third one, this is most specifically directed to my Yankee fan world that I live and breathe in all the time.
By the way, Clay Holmes just blew a save in the 7th inning.
Oh, that's get it out of the way.
That's
got to get it out of the way.
That's 12. All right. Back to your rant.
So the Yankees finally call up Jason Dominguez the other day, and that's and that's great. I mean, it's probably time to call him up. He was doing great at AAA. But like for Yankee fans to think that they exerted pressure on social media to make the Yankees make that move, I'm just telling you, they don't listen to you at all.
Never.
They just don't. When they listen to you, when you don't show up. They don't listen to you on social media. They don't like, oh man, all the Yankee fans, everybody wants Dominguez to be called up. We're going to do it. That's not how it works. Stop giving yourself credit for that happening. It's fucking embarrassing. Frankly, it's infantile. And just stop. Just stop. It's fucking ridiculous. It pisses me off. It's ridiculous.
Apparently.
The next one is don't be late for a Phils game, especially, if they're at home, don't be late for the bottom of the first. If they're on the road, don't be late for the top of the first. Kyle Schwarber set a major league record last night before he got injured with his 14th leadoff homer of the season. That's incredible. That's incredible. Yeah. That's incredible to lead off a game with 14 homers. And on top of that, the guy can't even hit 200. He's hitting 250 this year, but he's got 14 leadoff home runs.
Yeah, he's a keeper.
And that lineup is terrifying as it is, but when you're down 1-0 before you blink, that's a scary thing.
He's a keeper for Team Pugsley Baseball for next year, for sure.
On a side note for the Phillies, and this is baseball in general, if you get hit by a pitch and you charge the mound and you don't throw a punch, you should be suspended for a month. I'm done. I'm done. Well, it was Castellanos last night. If you're going to go out there, throw a punch. Throw a punch. Don't posture and hug each other and have all these assholes running from the bullpen and waste my time. Stop doing it. You're wasting my time.
Well, Harper came up from second base on the guy, and they said he didn't want to get suspended, but he wanted to back up his teammate.
If you're going at the pitcher, then get your friggin' hands flying and let's go. Let's get a brouhaha or a Donnybrook, not this big friggin' line dance thing that ends up happening that just wastes everybody's time.
Give me a little Armando Benitez and Darryl Strawberry.
Exactly. Let's chase it in the tunnel. Let's go. Let's get after it. Let's
drop the gloves.
Drop the gloves and let's go. Old time hockey. Let's get it going.
Go for it.
The last one is the one. The last one is the one that is as disturbing a topic as I was involved in this week, and that's the death of the 300 hitter. So going into last night, there were 7 players hitting 300 or better.
That's crazy.
There were only 8 more hitting over 290.
Yeah, but what's their launch angle and exit velocity?
Of 133 qualified batters, there's 15 guys hitting 290 or better. There's 55 hitting below 250.
Wow. That's ugly.
55. Like, I hate to be the get off my porch guy, but like 383 with 220 hits was a thing. And it wasn't 100 years ago.
No.
I mean, going into September, talking about George Brett or Rod Carew hitting 400 or Tony Gwynn was conversations that we used to have.
Brett was 390 one year on like September 1st or August 31st or something.
Yeah. I mean, they were talking about Brent Rooker the other day having the Hall of Fame season, which is 30 homers, 100 RBIs, and 300, because he's hitting about maybe he's down to 296 or 297 right now. But like, Judge is an enigma. Like, hitting 320 with that kind of productivity is an enigma right now.
Yeah.
It's just like, I mean, Luis Ariz got super hot again, like hitting around 400 for the last month to get up. But they were talking like, what's the lowest batting average winner of all time? It's Yaz, and it's like 304 before they changed the mound. Like, it's something like that. And like, we haven't seen batting averages like this since they made the mound change.
Yeah.
But and on top of that, there's of the 7 guys that are hitting over 300, I think 5 of them are in the American League.
Interesting.
So
hey, you wanted to mention James Earl Jones before we get to the last part?
Yeah, like a double sad week, right? The James Earl Jones, Bingo Long, Traveling All-Stars, great movie. And of course, the greatest monologue probably in any sports movie that's ever been, Field of Dreams. You know, sad to see his passing. And then a childhood passing for me that was really sad. It was Eddie Kranepool. And not that I was a Mets fan, but I got to see the Mets, number 7. I mean, they had Seaver and Kuzman, and they had some really good pitching, but like, their offense was Ed Kranepool, like an original Met. I had the opportunity to meet him, and I think it was a Little League banquet, like one of the nicest men I ever met in my life, and just like a Met of all Mets, right? Like a guy that, you know, when they were talking about Old Timers Day or honoring the Mets, and he was afraid he wasn't going to be able to walk the home plate, like, because he was sick, found a way and the strength to be able to do it. Like, he loved being a Met, and I've not been, you know, I've not hidden the fact that my feelings about the Mets. But Ed Kranepool, like, as a kid, Ed Kranepool was a guy I liked to watch play because he played the right way, and he was really all they had offensively. They had nothing else.
Yeah, right.
So, I mean, they had very little else. But I mean, that was him. But the James Earl Jones thing, I've watched that monologue probably, I don't know, 10 times in the last 2 days. And the baseball ain't that anymore.
Yeah. All right.
Like, baseball's not a steam engine that rolls through time because that asshole commissioner has decided that the history of the game is irrelevant. And
no, they play for that hunk of metal.
we play for the piece of metal and
hit
it hard. We'll just keep changing the rules until we get the outcome that we want.
Commissioner Clown Fred. All right. Speaking of Commissioner Clown Fred.
All right. Trot it out.
I've been on a quest all year. Find the new team. So here's the pros and cons of the Phillies and the Orioles, the final 2. I know, Mike, you wanted me on I could get Liam's Yankee hat here if you want to put in one more bid to sway me.
We don't want you.
Here's the pros and cons. I love the Phillies.
You don't know enough about the game to be a Yankee fan.
Yeah. Harper's awesome. Schwarber's awesome. I like feels like they're like a frat house, right? Great owner. Been to the ballpark. It's fantastic. The history. Steve Carlton, Mike Schmidt, passionate fan base, very colorful language. Then you got the O's. They're an up-and-coming team. Another one with great history from the 70s, Palmer and Brooks Robinson and all those guys. The Orioles would have been DQ'd on the first wave had the Angelos family not sold the team, but they are now under new ownership. So that got the Orioles in this thing. But at the end of the day, I'm just an American League guy. And the Fighting Phils, I'll root for them, but I'm gonna now again, as long as the Oakland Athletics Baseball Organization is a thing, I'm an A's fan, but I'm transitioning. The people I talk to most in my baseball world are Yankee fans and Red Sox fans. So the rivalry is on. I'm gonna do my what's the Florida State guy, Chief Nakahoma, whatever. Throw the flaming spike. Can't remember his name.
Yeah, you'll be 0-2. You'll be 0-2 in the same in week 1.
So go O's. I got to do my research. Is Wild Bill Hagee still down there?
You know what? I'm just going to respond to this with 2 words: front runner.
No, not really a front
You
runner.
look a little like Earl Weaver with that hat on. If you had a pack of smokes in your shirt, you'd look a little Earl Weaver-ish.
I could swear like
I mean, maybe you get a Don Buford jersey
for my club.
You know,
yeah.
Now you're going to have to start defending the fucking compiler Cal Ripken because you're an Orioles fan, and certainly you can go to a game because they still don't go because they don't know how to handle success because they're a shithole franchise.
Wow.
And
see,
look, they just can't handle prosperity. Unlike you, I'm going to tell you made the wrong choice.
No, I'm an American League guy, and the Phillies were going to be it. It was going to be the Phillies. I'd made up my mind. Choice. And then Boogers Baseball had a very impassionate plea with me to say, "Come and join the band in Baltimore." A couple weeks ago, I turned on an A's game. It's the last time I've seen the game in the Coliseum. I'm going to tune in on the 26th. That's going to be the last one. I'll watch that. And I turned it off after a couple innings. It really pissed me off. And I flipped on the Phillies. They were playing the Royals, and Tejon Walker was pitching like he always does, terribly.
Underhanded.
I got bored and flipped on the O's game and saw Anthony Santander, Team Pugsley Baseball, hit, I think it was a granny or a 3-run homer in the bottom of the 8th against the Orioles to help win that game. And I'm like, buy the hat. Buy the hat. So I'm filing an application with a few Oriole fans I know. And I'm joining up, and I'm signing up with the team.
The few Oriole fans you know are all like members of the Three Stooges fan club because they're all idiots.
No, we got Boogers. We got our man Jubby down there, and
you can call Willie. I mean, you can
Willie, and then you got Gaz from Levac and Gaz. He's a big O's
fan. Right, as I said, they're all morons. You made the wrong choice. You made the wrong choice. The easiest transition for you would have been the Rockies. That would have been the right transition.
No,
you have family out there. You could have been miserable as a fan still, and at least you could have gone to a nice ballpark. And you could have
great ballpark.
You could have snuck in a family visit while you were doing it.
They want to win as
brought your kids to see their grandmother. I mean, God forbid you bring your kids to see your grandmother. Their grandmother. Why would you do that? But instead, you're going to schlep them down to Baltimore.
Yes.
So they can buy some crack and get shot while you're trying to find a parking spot, and then be stunned that you paid $28 for a seat that you would have paid $80 for every place else because it was available game day because it was 71 degrees with a chance of rain, and it was the Red Sox and they're in 4th place, so I'm not going. I mean, come on. Look, honestly,
the rivalry is on. The rivalry is on.
Oh my God! You can start tweeting with Jim Palmer now, and
my O's.
You can start talking about how Mark Belanger is an underrated shortstop. You can get not Gaetti to get a NEPTA Mark Belanger train going. I mean, you can talk about how pissed you were when Paul Blair went to the Yankees because that's a rival and blah, blah, blah.
Oh, no,
blah.
I'm going back.
Instead, you could have walked around with a cigarette hanging out of your mouth and abusing little kids like Dick Allen and been a Phillies fan and then just literally screaming at everybody that wasn't a Phillies fan, and that would actually fit your persona better. But no, you picked that crap hole team. And
20-game winners in 71, Dobson, Cuellar, McNally, Palmer. I mean, come on. And Brooksy, the vacuum cleaner.
Yeah.
And Boog.
The second best third baseman of all time, probably, in my mind.
I'll tell you, it really came down to
if you were a Phillies fan, you would have been a fan of the greatest third baseman of all time. But no.
Who happens to be my birthday twin, by the way.
Yeah. Well, why would you make that stretch and say, here's another reason for me to be a Phillies fan? They're going to be good for 10 years, and the Orioles, in their infinite wisdom, are going to find a way to not be able to sign all these great young players. And in 2027, they're going to be 30 and 128. And you'll be like, man, I should have never picked this team.
No, my Orioles are here to stay. They're here to stay.
You think so?
I've been a fan for what, 5 minutes? That's
yeah, exactly.
Go O's.
But a fan for 5 minutes. I am all in.
The same colors as my high school team. I'm all in. I'll learn the organization in the off season, but
5 minutes. Me and Eddie Murray hanging out in Cooperstown.
He's a compiler.
Just the other day, he didn't say a word to me the whole time. I talked the whole time.
Stop talking about that. I guess I got to get off the Eddie Murray's a compiler and Cal Ripken was selfish for the streak. I got to change that verbiage.
I won't. I'll keep it going.
No, I'll get booted. I'll end up in Philly in the bleachers.
Yeah, where you should be.
Yeah. It's really National League. But I like the rivalries. I can tweak you and the big man.
You're gonna make a change.
And Scotty. It had to be an East Coast team. I'm tired of trying to stay up till 10:05 to watch.
If you're going to make a change, you might as well change to the other league so you don't have to lament when the Maloofs buy out Fisher and they permanently house in Sacramento with a 40,000 seat extravagant stadium, and he dumps $1 billion into that team, and then they become great, because that's what's going to end up happening.
No, that's okay. Nope. Go O's. Go O's. All right.
Go O's. The Maloofs are going to buy. They have so much money. They're going to buy Old Navy to put the Gap out of business. So he has no choice but to sell the team. And then they're going to buy it.
Did you know that the same assholes that own the Gap owns Old Navy?
What?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
I banned Old Navy from this house, and Mrs. Pugsley came home with Old Navy like a year. I'm like, what are you doing?
It's good value.
Screw them. I can't do it.
It's good value.
All right.
Best place to get a Simpsons t-shirt.
So we will do it again next week.
We will do it again next week. We'll be in the midst. Right. So upcoming, right? Upcoming is your Disney trip.
Yes.
And we have promised, we had great engagement earlier in the year from another league, and we have promised that their champion would be a guest. So we'll make them a guest. We'll have we're coming up on postseason preview. We're coming up on end of year awards. We're coming up on a recap of our go get 'em, cut 'em, and who's hot and who's not, and how dumb we were. And I'm guessing right now that we're probably going to be as dumb as you all believe we are. And you'd be right to do that. But we're hoping that tonight was better than what you watched last night, because if you would have asked us a question, at least we would have answered the question.
I liked last night, but that's just me.
No, look at you.
And you never know.
Anytime somebody's getting prosecuted, it's always fun to watch.
And you know what? Next week I might just show up with a Phillies hat. Who knows?
Oh no.
Is it?
You've made your bed bug infested bed, and you're gonna friggin' rot in it now.
I just texted a picture to one of my Oriole friends, the Gaz, and he sent back with 4 fire emojis to say yes.
Yeah, like he wants to tie you to a stake and burn you.
No. He's welcome aboard.
No. Now you gotta binge The Wire.
What's that?
And Homicide: Life on the Street, so you actually know what it's like in Baltimore. Like you're gonna actually have take a water taxi from the harbor to Fells Point. Like, you're gonna have to do some Baltimore stuff.
I love crab.
Go to the Babe Ruth Museum.
I love crab cakes.
Understand where Pigtown is. Bitch because Phillips isn't in the Inner Harbor anymore. You have to start doing that stuff. Like, you're gonna be one of them. You're gonna be one of the people. Next thing you know, since your football team's going to implode, you'll be a Ravens fan too.
No,
never. Like, you're going to show up with an Orioles hat and a Lamar Jackson jersey on, and then it's going to be all. I mean, then it's like, hey, Amy got a job in Baltimore because
they're probably going to take the Raiders to the house this Sunday in Baltimore, but no.
You think?
Yeah, I think.
You think?
Yes.
The Carson Beck watch is officially on.
Yeah, no shit. As long as it's not Shedeur Sanders. I saw a mock draft today, and he's not even listed. He's not even listed in the first round now.
I saw that. Saw that. This kid from USC is like.
He looks like he's 5'8".
The one I saw today he was the first Miller was the first quarterback in the draft.
Yeah, that's a little much, but we'll
probably
see.
It's going to be Carson Beck. That's who it's going to end up being. I don't know why it wouldn't be. You want a guy that's won and makes the right throws.
Yep.
It's like the second guessing about CJ Stroud, and the same thing I said about CJ Stroud in his last bowl game. I'm like, if I'm starting a franchise right now, I got to pick one of these guys. CJ Stroud's a guy, and I was finally right about something. I was right, thankfully.
I'll fix my hat. Crooked.
But yeah, you're on the. Yeah, you're already on the watch. You're already on the watch. I feel bad for Antonio Pierce because they're not a good football team.
Nah, sucks. Oh well, the Huskers are back, national title, so that's good. All right.
Okay.
I'm gonna go drink more beer.
Good plan. You need to. You have to get yourself some Natty Boh now. You have to start. You got to go store to store to try to find some National Bohemian, so you can have some Natty Bohs because Get you a Boog Powell jersey. Start getting on Amazon looking for Boog's barbecue sauce.
Yeah, we could do that.
I mean, good God.
Go O's.
Good God. Maybe you should get an Andy Etchebarren jersey. Maybe that'd be
he was underrated.
He was underrated. He was underrated.
I was always a big Al Bunbury fan.
Who was the second? Who was the other part of that catching platoon? It was Andy Etchebarren, and it was. Oh man. Well, we're out of time. I'll think about it though, but there was a second catcher that was Etchebarren and another catcher, and I can't remember who it was. And they were both good enough to be good, but not good enough. But you would be but I do see you in a rain delay, like sliding on the tarp like Rick Dempsey used to. I see you
exactly.
I do see you doing that. But I also see you hanging out with Kruk and Bull's Barbecue, like slamming Yinglings and just talking about stupidity.
It was a tough decision.
Oh, you made the wrong choice.
A lot of things about the Phillies that drew me to it, but
not the first wrong choice you ever made.
Nope. Just add to the list. All right.
I was going to buy you a Taiwan Walker jersey too, but nope, because they're cheap. Because they're cheap.
He sucks.
They're buy one get one right now.
If Zach Wheeler had been pitching that night, I'd probably be wearing a Philly hat right now. But he wasn't. So, all right, we're out. We'll do it again next week. Enjoy.
Thanks for hanging out with us.